10 brands, ranked worst to best. No sponsors, no loyalty. Some of these names you trust, some you're overpaying for by a factor of 3, and one cheap brand quietly outperforms most of the expensive ones. Here's the truth. Number 10. Hugo Boss. Hugo Boss sits at the bottom of this list because it commits the specific crime that men's fashion punishes least and should punish most. It charges luxury prices for budget construction and does it with enough confidence that most buyers never question the gap. A standard Hugo Boss suit retails between $500 and $800. That price point puts it in the same conversation as genuinely well-made tailoring from brands that use half-canvas or full-canvas construction, the methods that give a jacket its drape, its structure, and its ability to hold shape across years of wear. Hugo Boss does not use those methods on the vast majority of its suits. It uses fused interlining, a layer of adhesive that bonds the outer fabric to the inner lining without any floating canvas underneath. Fusing is the cheapest construction method available in tailored clothing. It produces a jacket that looks pressed and structured in the store and begins to bubble, separate, and lose its shape within 2 to 4 years of regular wear and dry cleaning as the adhesive breaks down under heat and friction. The gross margin Hugo Boss reported in the final quarter of 2024 was 62.4%. That means for every $700 suit, less than $265 went into the actual garment, the fabric, the lining, the thread, the buttons, and the labor. The remaining $435 covered the brand's overhead, its retail infrastructure, its marketing, and its profit. You are paying a luxury price for a product built to a fast fashion standard, dressed up in a German heritage narrative that has almost no connection to what comes off the production line today. The shirts and casual wear follow the same pattern: mid-grade cotton, standard construction, aggressive markup. The brand's decision to outsource the bulk of its manufacturing to lower-cost facilities in Eastern Europe and Asia while maintaining a premium retail positioning is not a secret. It is visible in the financial disclosures and in the teardown reports that surface regularly across menswear communities online. Hugo Boss does not just blur the line between status and substance. It erases it and charges you for the view. Number 9. Versace. Versace belongs near the bottom because it has perfected the art of selling mythology at a price that has almost no relationship to what is inside the garment. The house trades on one of the most recognizable visual identities in fashion history, the Medusa, the Baroque print, the gold hardware, and it uses that identity to charge prices that would require extraordinary construction to justify. The construction is not extraordinary. A basic Versace graphic tee retails between $350 and $600. The fabric is standard 190 to 210 gram cotton jersey, finished in licensed production facilities. Industry estimates put the cost of goods, including fabric, embroidery, or print, and labor between $20 and $40. The markup from production cost to retail is 8 to 15 times, depending on the style. The tailored pieces follow a similar formula. Entry-level Versace suits are fused construction, the same shortcut Hugo Boss employs, dressed up in brighter colors and louder hardware. What separates Versace from Hugo Boss in the ranking is a single honest concession. At the top end of the Versace line, in the atelier pieces and the more serious tailoring, there is genuine craft involved. The house has Italian roots, and the highest tier of its output reflects that history in a way that Hugo Boss simply does not have. But that craft exists at price points most buyers never reach. The entry and mid-level products that account for the majority of Versace's volume are logo delivery vehicles built to standard commercial specifications and priced as though they were something else entirely. The mythology earns the house a point above the bottom, but not much more. Number 8. Ralph Lauren. Ralph Lauren is a more complicated entry than the brands below it because the house spans an enormous range of quality tiers under a single name. The purple label, Ralph Lauren's top tier, uses genuinely high-grade materials and construction that justifies a significant price premium. The problem is that purple label represents a tiny fraction of what Ralph Lauren actually sells. The vast majority of the business runs through Polo Ralph Lauren and the licensed product lines, and at those tiers the gap between price and product is significant. A Polo Ralph Lauren dress shirt retails between $120 and $180. The fabric is typically a standard poplin or twill in a cotton polyester blend or mid-grade pure cotton at 100 to 120 thread count, a spec you can find in shirts selling for $30 to $40 from transparent direct-to-consumer brands. The gross margin for Ralph Lauren's fiscal year 2025 was 68.6%, the highest of any brand on this list. That margin is built by charging a premium for a logo while keeping material and construction costs firmly in the mid-market range. The deeper problem is the licensing structure that governs most of Ralph Lauren's product. Lower-tier lines are produced by third-party manufacturers who pay royalties to use the Ralph Lauren name and then build the product to their own cost targets. Ralph Lauren's quality control at the licensed tier is limited by design because that is how the licensing model works. The brand collects fees and the licensee captures the profit, which means the incentive at every step is to reduce the cost of goods, not to improve them. Ralph Lauren sits at number 8 rather than lower because the brand's heritage carries genuine weight at its upper tiers, and because the basic construction at the Polo level, while not exceptional, is at least consistent and not actively deceptive in the way Hugo Boss's tailoring is. But for the money most men spend at this brand, there's almost always a better option at the same price. Number 7. Calvin Klein. Calvin Klein occupies a specific and revealing position on this list because of what it shares with the brand below it. Both Calvin Klein and Tommy Hilfiger are owned by PVH Corporation. Both brands source from many of the same contracted factories in Bangladesh and Vietnam. Both use similar fabric specifications at comparable price points. The difference between them is the marketing positioning and the resulting price premium, and that gap is the most honest illustration of what brand machinery actually costs the consumer. A Calvin Klein dress shirt retails between $120 and $180. A comparable Tommy Hilfiger shirt from the same PVH stable retails between $80 and $100. The material difference between them is negligible. Both use polycotton blends at similar fabric weights sourced from the same regional manufacturing base. PVH's own financial filings confirm a gross margin of 59% across the portfolio. That margin is maintained by charging different prices for functionally identical outputs under different brand names. Calvin Klein's value to PVH is almost entirely positional. The brand sits higher in the consumer's mental hierarchy than Tommy Hilfiger because of its history in American fashion, its association with minimalism, and decades of provocative advertising that built an aspirational image almost entirely decoupled from the actual products. That image is what you are paying extra for. Not better cotton, not superior stitching, not a more considered cut, a marketing archive and a label inside the collar. Calvin Klein ranks above Ralph Lauren because at least the price premium here is transparently built on brand positioning rather than a licensing maze, but it earns no points for the quality of what it delivers. Number 6. Tommy Hilfiger. Tommy Hilfiger sits in the middle of this list because it is exactly what it says it is, a mainstream American heritage brand with broad retail distribution, consistent mid-market quality, and prices that reflect its position in the market honestly enough that the gap between expectation and reality is not catastrophic. It is not a great value, but it is not an active deception either. A standard Tommy Hilfiger dress shirt retails between $80 and $100. The fabric is a 140 gram per square meter polycotton blend, a mid-grade spec that is serviceable and durable enough for regular wear without being remotely special. The landed manufacturing cost, including fabric, labor, and freight from factories in Bangladesh and Vietnam, sits between $6 and $8. PVH's marketing and retail overhead accounts for the majority of the remaining price, which is a significant markup but not unusual for a brand of this scale operating at this tier of the market. What keeps Tommy Hilfiger at number 6 rather than lower is a combination of factors that do not show up in the cost breakdown. The brand's fits are well established and consistent across production runs, which matters more than most men admit when buying shirts they expect to wear for years. The construction, while not premium, is reliable. Seams hold. Buttons are adequately secured. The fabric, though not exciting, does not fall apart in the wash or pill aggressively after a few months. For a brand operating at mass market scale with global retail distribution, consistent mediocrity is actually a baseline achievement. Tommy Hilfiger clears it reliably and charges a fair price for exactly what it delivers, no more, no less. Number 5. Uniqlo. Uniqlo is the first brand on this list where the value proposition genuinely tips in the buyer's favor. And it does so through a combination of supply chain discipline, material transparency, and a refusal to inflate prices with branding overhead that most companies at this scale cannot resist. Every Uniqlo product page lists the precise fabric composition, not a vague description of the material, the actual fiber content, weight, and in many cases the specific mill or certification behind it. For the Supima cotton tee, Uniqlo publishes the licensed use of certified American-grown Supima fiber, a long staple cotton variety with measurably better softness and durability than standard upland cotton. That disclosure is not standard practice in retail. Most brands at Uniqlo's price point offer a fiber content label required by law and nothing more. Uniqlo goes further because the material quality is a real part of the value and the brand is confident enough in it to show the work. The pricing reflects an honest markup. A Supima cotton tee retails for $20 to $30, with a markup around 3 to 4 times the production cost, a fraction of what Ralph Lauren or Calvin Klein charge for comparable or inferior fabric. The merino wool sweaters, the heat tech base layers, the ultra-light down jackets. Each category demonstrates the same pattern: documented materials, functional design, honest pricing, and a markup that does not require a mythology to justify it. Uniqlo sits at number 5 rather than higher because the brand's construction at its price tier, while reliable, is not exceptional. The stitching is standard. The fits are generic by necessity at mass market scale, and the brand's commitment to transparency stops at the fabric level without extending to full supply chain disclosure. But as a daily wear brand for fundamentals, nothing at this price tier comes close to the consistency of what Uniqlo delivers. Number 4, Suit Supply. Suit Supply sits at number 4 because it does something in tailoring that almost no other brand at any price point manages to do consistently. It tells you exactly what you're buying before you buy it, and what you're buying is genuinely good. Every Suit Supply blazer and suit jacket comes with a construction label stating clearly whether the garment is half canvas or fully canvassed. That information appears on the product page before purchase, not hidden in a care label you find after bringing it home. Half canvas construction, which Suit Supply offers at a price between $400 and $700, means the jacket has a layer of floating horsehair canvas sewn between the outer fabric and the lining. This canvas layer molds to the wearer's body over time through heat and movement, producing a drape and structure that a fused jacket can never develop. It also means the jacket can be worn, cleaned, and worn again for a decade or more without the bubbling and delamination that end the life of a fused garment. The direct-to-consumer model eliminates the retail and licensing layers that inflate prices at department store brands. The fabrics are sourced from Italian mills, including Zegna, E. Thomas, and Piacenza, and those mill names appear on the product pages. At $500 for a half-canvas jacket using Italian mill fabric, Suit Supply is delivering a product that comparable department store brands charge $1,200 or more to match. The markup sits around 2 to 3 times the landed cost, a ratio that reflects actual material and labor investment rather than brand overhead. The limitation keeping Suit Supply at 4 rather than higher is the warranty structure, which is limited to 2 years and does not extend to a full repair and rejuvenation program. The product earns its price. The aftercare infrastructure has room to grow, but as a place to buy genuinely well-constructed tailoring at a price that does not require a financial event to justify, Suit Supply stands largely alone in the modern market. Number 3. Gustin. Gustin earns its position at number 3 by building a business model that structurally eliminates the markup problem rather than simply managing it more honestly than competitors. The San Francisco brand runs on a crowdsourced pre-order system where no pair of jeans, no shirt, and no jacket enters production until enough customers have pledged to buy it. Once the campaign funds, production begins. Once production completes, the product ships. There is no inventory. There is no unsold stock absorbing overhead costs that get passed to the next buyer. There is no advertising budget because the pre-order model generates its own demand without one. The savings from removing inventory risk, warehousing, unsold stock write-downs, and advertising spend are passed directly to the buyer in the form of prices that reflect what the product actually costs to make. At a quality level, most brands charge twice as much to deliver. Shirts made from Japanese selvage fabrics and sewn in the United States retail for $69 to $99. Each campaign discloses the mill provenance of the fabric, the country of manufacture, and the construction details, giving buyers full information before they commit rather than after they have already paid. The denim in particular represents a value that the broader market cannot match at anywhere near the price. Japanese selvage denim from documented Okayama mills made into jeans in the United States with chain-stitched construction for under $100. That combination does not exist elsewhere in the market. Brands offering two of those three elements typically charge $200 to $300. Gustin offers all three for less than half that amount because the pre-order model removes the cost structures that inflate prices everywhere else. The limitation is patience. A Gustin campaign takes weeks to fund and weeks to ship after production. If you need jeans this week, Gustin cannot help you. But if you are buying for the quality and the value, that wait is trivially small compared to the decade of wear the product delivers. Number 2. Ironheart. Ironheart belongs at number 2 because it represents the clearest example in men's fashion of a brand that took a single commitment, building the most durable garments possible, and followed that commitment to its logical conclusion, regardless of how commercially inconvenient the resulting product was to sell. The Osaka brand's signature selvage denim runs at 21 ounces, with a double-twisted weft yarn construction that nearly doubles the tensile strength of the fabric compared to standard Japanese premium denim in the 12 to 14 ounce range. Standard premium jeans from respected Japanese brands show measurable fraying and seam weakening after 12 to 18 months of regular wear. Independent 4-year field tests of Ironheart 21-ounce jeans show no significant fraying or seam failure at the same intervals. The fabric is not just heavier, it is structurally different at the yarn level, with each weft thread carrying twice the fiber content of a single twist construction and producing a weave that resists abrasion in a fundamentally different way. The break-in period is real, and the brand does not pretend otherwise. New Ironheart jeans are stiff in a way that surprises first-time buyers who have only worn standard or even premium denim. 3 to 6 months of consistent daily wear is required before the fabric begins to conform to the body and develop fades. The fades that emerge after that break-in period are among the most dramatic in the denim world because the fabric carries enough indigo density to develop extreme contrast, bright white at the stress points, deep indigo in the protected areas that lighter denim simply cannot sustain across years of wear. At a price between $350 and $500, Ironheart jeans are one of the most economically rational purchases in men's clothing when measured by cost per wear over a documented 10-year lifespan. The brand maintains its own retail stores with direct repair and alteration services. The production chain sits entirely in Japan under direct factory oversight. The markup reflects genuine material and labor cost rather than brand overhead. And unlike every brand ranked below it, Ironheart has a decade-long track record of consumer-documented wear that independently verifies what the brand claims about its own product. That kind of external verification is vanishingly rare in fashion, and it is worth more than any brand story. Number 1. Darn Tough. Vermont first place goes to a brand that most men's fashion conversations ignore entirely because it makes socks. And socks are not where most men direct their attention or their spending. That is exactly the wrong instinct, and Darn Tough has built a business model that exposes it more clearly than any tailored jacket or pair of jeans can. Darn Tough Vermont knits every pair of socks at the Cabot Hosiery Mill in Northfield, Vermont. No outsourcing, no offshore production for certain styles and domestic for others. Every pair, every style, every size, made in Vermont on machines the company owns and operates. That production chain is shorter, more controlled, and more verifiable than anything any other brand on this list can claim. It is also the foundation for something no other brand on this list has the confidence to offer: an unconditional lifetime guarantee, not limited to manufacturing defects, not subject to inspection criteria or proof of purchase requirements. If a pair of Darn Tough socks wears out, the company replaces it. No questions, no receipt. The only requirement is that the socks be recognizable as Darn Tough, even if they have been darned, patched, or worn to threads. That policy applies to every style, every customer, across the entire product range. The business logic behind this guarantee is the most important thing to understand about why Darn Tough sits at the top of this list. An unconditional lifetime guarantee is not a marketing promise. It is a financial bet. If the product fails at any meaningful rate, the replacement program becomes catastrophically expensive and the business model collapses. The only way to offer a guarantee this broad and remain financially viable is to manufacture a product that almost never fails. The guarantee works because the socks last, and the socks last because the company uses a high-density merino blend with seamless ring-stitched construction built on machines they control in a facility they own, where every decision about yarn quality, knitting density, and construction standard is made internally rather than delegated to the lowest bidder in a contracted facility overseas. At $20 to $30 per pair, Darn Tough socks cost 3 to 5 times more than department store alternatives that rarely survive a year of regular use. Over 5 years, the math is straightforward. Department store socks at $6 a pair, replaced every 12 months, cost you $30. Darn Tough socks at $25 a pair, lasting the same 5 years or replaced free if they don't, cost you $25 or less. The more expensive option is cheaper, and at the end of 5 years you have not produced 5 pairs of worn-out synthetic socks for a landfill. You have 1 pair of Vermont-made merino that either still functions or has been replaced at no cost to you. The reason Darn Tough ranks above Iron Heart, above Suit Supply, above every other brand on this list is that no other brand makes a financial commitment to the quality of its product this unambiguous and this costly to the company if they fail to deliver. Every brand claims quality. Darn Tough puts money on it. They stake their entire business model on the assumption that their product outlasts the customer. That is not confidence born from marketing. That is confidence born from knowing exactly what goes into every pair and exactly what it can withstand. In an industry where former giants have retreated from lifetime coverage, where brands dilute their standards after ownership changes, and where the gap between what is claimed and what is delivered is a standard business practice, Darn Tough runs directly against every one of those trends. The product is made where they say it is made. The materials are what they say they are, and if it fails, they fix it for free. No brand on this list, and very few brands anywhere in men's fashion, can say the same.